Okay, today's Friday, September 22nd, and the goal for today and Monday is to help you review what you know about working with decimals, because what's coming up on Tuesday?
Module 1 test.
Module 1 test, you got it, okay? And today's problem of the day is exactly the same as yesterday's exit ticket. And the reason why I wanted us to take a closer look at this is because it's kind of a tricky problem. I wouldn't say it's hard, but I would say it's complicated because you really have to understand what it means, and then there's lots of different parts. There's lots of different steps in solving it. Okay? So let's read it together. It says a gardener installed 42.6 meters of fencing in 5 days. So how long did it take the gardener to build the whole fence?
5 days.
And how long is the whole fence?
42.6 meters.
Very good. Now, in 5 days, so on Monday, he installed 13.5 meters, and on Tuesday, he installed 9.5 meters. Is he done with the whole fence?
No.
There's still a certain amount left, right? The amount that's left, he installed it in equal lengths on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So how many days is that? 3. How many meters of fencing did he install on each of the last 3 days? Use a tape diagram to explain your thinking. Okay. Normally, if it was typed out for you, you would underline what the question's asking, but since it's a problem of the day, you should have written down what the question's asking. Marvin, what's the question asking?
It's asking how many meters of fencing did he install on each of the last 3 days?
Very good. I'm also going to circle each because am I trying to find out the total amount of fencing he installed on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
No.
I want to find out how much he installed each of those days. Okay? Very good. What important information do I need to know in order to figure that out? Jonathan?
That he installed 42.6 meters of fencing.
Very good. Altogether, there's 42.6 meters, and in how many days?
5.
Good. And then we need to know that he installed 13.5 on Monday and 9.5 meters on Tuesday, and the last 3 days were equal lengths. Yes? Okay. Here's how you could draw a tape diagram, since it tells us we need to draw a tape diagram to show your thinking. Remember, tapes are always rectangles, yes? And if that tape represents the entire length of fence, how much is it altogether?
42.6.
Very good. So let's label it 42.6 meters. Now, how many days did he work on the fence? 5 days. So let's put it into the 5 days. 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, right? Do we know how much he installed on Monday?
Yes.
How much did he install on Monday?
13.45.
Good, 13.45 meters. And let's continue to write that units, because what if one of them was centimeters, right? We would need to know the difference. Good. Do we know how much he installed on Tuesday?
Yes.
How much did he install on Tuesday?
9.5 meters of Tuesday.
Very good. Do we know how much he installed on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday?
No.
But we know that they were the same amount, right? So we can show that we're trying to find that amount, or that amount, or that amount. But all 3 are the same. Yes? So your tape diagram should look like this, okay? Or something similar to this. Now, if I know there's 3 equal amounts on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's 3 groups that are the same size, right? Should I just divide 42.6 divided by 3 to find that out?
No.
Because did he install all of the 42.6 on those 3 days? No, he only installed this portion of it, right? So how can I figure out this portion of it? Ani?
First, you have to add up 13.45 to 9.5.
Oh, I have to find out how much he built altogether on Monday and Tuesday. And I can do that by adding 13.45 plus 9.5. Yes? Okay. So altogether, how many hundredths do I have?
5.
How many tenths do I have?
9.
How many ones do I have?
12.
Good. And I'm going to regroup. So how many tens do I have?
2.
Good. Marvin, now that I know that he built 22.95 meters altogether on Monday and Tuesday, how can I find out how much he built or how much he has left to build after Tuesday?
You can do 22.95 minus 42.
So I do 22.95 minus the total amount? Or do I take the total amount and I subtract the amount he's already done?
Total amount, subtract the amount.
You got it. So I'll take the total amount, which is how much, you guys?
42.6.
And I have to subtract the amount that's already done, which is?
22.95.
Good. So let's do that math. As long as I line up my decimals, I'll be ready to subtract. So if I have 42.6, and then I have 22.95. What do I do with that blank space I have? Good. When I do 0 minus 5, I get negative 5. So what do I need to do? Regroup. So I'm going to take 1/10. How many tenths do I have left? Okay, and how many hundredths do I have now?
10.
Good. So if I have 10 hundredths and I want to take away 5 of them, how many hundredths do I have?
5.
Okay. If I have 5 tenths and I want to take away 9 tenths, what do I need to do first? Regroup. Okay. So I have 15 now. If I have 15 tenths, and I want to take away 9 of them, how many do I have left?
6.
Okay. I have 1 and I need to subtract 2. Regroup. Okay. I have 11 and I need to subtract 2. 9. And how many tens do I have left?
1.
So is my answer 19.65 meters?
No.
Why not? What does 19.65 meters represent? Arav?
19.65 meters represents the total amount of fencing the gardener put in 3 days.
Very good. And what's the question asking, Marvin?
It's asking how much the kids on each of the last 3.
Very good. So this 19.65 is this whole amount here, right? So how can I find out how much you did on each of those 3 days? Akshay? Okay. So if I'm doing 19.65 divided by 3, remember I'm doing 19.65 divided by 3. What's the divisor? 3. That means I'm dividing it into 3 groups, right? What's the whole? 19.65. You got it. So which number lives in the house?
19.65.
Very good. So let's put that in the house and then we'll divide it by 3. Okay, what's my biggest unit here? Tens. How many tens do I have? 1. Can I divide that?
No.
So I'm going to put 0, right? And then 0 when mom multiplies. And sister will find that there's 1 10 left. And when brother brings down and we regroup that 1 10, how many ones do we have? 19 tens, yeah. So if I have 19 ones, and I want to split it into 3 groups, how many can go into each group? 6, okay. And when mom multiplies, she'll find out that we used up how many ones? Okay. When sister subtracts, she'll find out that we have how many left? Okay. And when brother brings down and we regroup, we have how many tenths? 16. We know that the decimal point takes an elevator ride up here, yes? If I have 16 tenths and I want to split it into 3 groups, how many can go into each group? Everyone?
5.
Okay. When I put 5 tenths into each group, how many did I use up? When sister subtracts, how many tenths were left? 1. When brother brings down, we can regroup that 1 tenth to become a total of how many hundredths? 15 is the total. If I have 15 hundredths and I want to share it into 3 groups, how many hundredths can go into each one? 5 times 3 is? When I subtract, how much is left? That means we're done. So what's the answer? When we think we're done, what do we need to do? Look at the question. What does the question say? Everyone read it together. How many meters of fencing did he install on each of the last 3 days? So how much did he install on each of the last 3 days? Very good. Okay. Now that we've had a chance to look at our exit tickets, how many of you guys felt like having a classmate or another kid explain it to you was helpful? Sometimes kids explain things to kids better than adults or teachers can explain things to kids. So that's why I wanted you to have a chance to learn from your fabulous fails in your exit ticket. But now that we've looked at our exit tickets, we have to start figuring out how are we going to study for this test. And a good way to study is to figure out what did we learn, okay? So here's our end goal. Together with your group, you're going to be working to make one test, a sample test. You're going to pretend to be a test maker or a teacher. Because oftentimes if you can kind of predict the kinds of questions that will be asked, you'll know exactly what to expect. Does that make sense? And I'm going to let you know a secret. When teachers are preparing tests, we look at the big topics that were covered, and we make sure to ask a question from every single big topic that was covered. So together with your group, you are going to be making a test by including one question from each big topic that we covered in Module 1. That's what's going to be on one piece of binder or graph paper. When you make a test, are there answers on the test? No. So you're going to leave blank space because on Monday, you're going to be solving each other's tests. Does that make sense? Then on the other sheet of graph paper, you're going to be making an answer key. it says make an answer key on a separate piece of paper, making sure to show all the steps and all of the work. Does that make sense? What I've done for you right now is I've kind of grouped the lessons together to show which ones were topics. Okay, so lessons 1.1 through 1.4, for example, were all about multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. Do you remember how we learned how you can shift the digits, or you can move the decimal point, and also we learned about exponents. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to look at your notebook right now, or your workbook, and look at what did we learn in lessons 1.5 through 1.6. So by looking back at the learning goal and also your work in your workbook, you can see that the main topic for lessons 1.5 and 1.6 was learning about expanded form, word form, unit form, and standard forms of decimals, right? Okay, do the same thing. Now, here's the tricky part. Actually, I'm going to tell you this one. We didn't do lessons 1.7 and 1.8 from Eureka Math. Instead, we did Go Math. And what was the topic? Rounding decimals. Very good. You'll see that after we learned about word form, we learned about rounding decimals. Oops. Okay. Oh, by the way, 1.6 was about comparing decimals, right? Yeah. So we should write that here too. Okay. Take a look. What was 1.9 and 1.10 about? We could see that 1.9 and 1.10 were about adding and subtracting decimals. Let's see what lesson 11 and 12 were about. So we can see from our learning goals, you need to look at your learning goals to figure it out. If you're just looking at your workbook, you won't be able to figure it out. Lesson 1.11 and 1.12 were about multiplying decimals. What we learned most recently, lesson 1.13 through 1.15 were about dividing decimals. Good. And then lesson 1.16, the one we just did yesterday, is about word problems and specifically using what to solve. Good. Tape diagrams and word problems. So looking at this list, how many different topics did we learn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you are going to make a sample test with 7 problems. Here's the thing. You're not making up the problems. What you're going to do is you're going to go through lessons 1.1 through 1.4, and you're going to look at all the problems in the workbook, and you're going to find the one that best tests if someone is able to multiply or divide by powers of 10 and exponents. Then you're going to go through 1.5 and 1.6, and you're going to look for the problem that best tests this skill. Does that make sense? So for each one, you're just copying a problem from your workbook. For lessons 1.7 and 1.8, again, we didn't use those lessons, so in your book, you have Go Math. You're going to pick a problem. So you're making, on one piece of graph paper, a blank test with 7 different math problems that test these 7 concepts. Then on the other paper, you're making the answer key where you show all your steps.